And then Gidi Sawal who is the project manager for Perkins will go through and provide some highlights about the plan itself. We do have some guest speakers who are what we consider some of our key project partners with this project as well, who will be providing some of their thoughts in regards to some specific elements of the project. We have Robert Paget, who's the Managing Director for CCJPA. We have Ty Smith, who's the Museum Director for the California State Parks. And we also have Kathleen Ava, Senior Climate Program Manager at SMUD. Boy, I'm getting my tongue tied. So with that, I'd like to ask Nicole to share the videos by Congresswoman Matsui and Mayor Steinberg.
Okay.
Hi everyone. Thank you all for joining us today to celebrate another milestone for the Sacramento Valley Station Area Plan. Really, since the 1920s, the Sac Valley Station has been a hub of economic development for the region and beyond. And today, it is the 7th busiest Amtrak station in the country. The plan you're about to see is an ambitious undertaking that will be fundamental to increasing transportation equity across the entirety of Northern California. A recent analysis by the Capital Corridor found that potential bus connections to our station can benefit at least 62 cities in 22 counties, reaching more than 280 disadvantaged community census tracts that are within a half-mile of these mobility services. Furthermore, the plan identifies innovative, climate-conscious strategies to achieve net positive energy at the site. Some of these strategies include recycling and reusing water, maximizing solar energy, and capturing heat energy from the ground for heating and cooling. Thank you to the project team and everyone involved with this project. It is wonderful to see the progress on such a monumental and innovative plan for our region. I can't wait to experience the finished product. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, and let me add my welcome to the Sacramento Valley Station Open House. The Sacramento Valley Station is critical to the Renaissance of Sacramento, for we envision a future of mobility options, incredible development, and access to our waterfront for residents and visitors. Today we will showcase a plan that will build upon and transform one of our city's most historic landmarks into a regional destination. The plan you'll see tonight will serve as a development roadmap for the 17 acres of property around the historic train depot for the next 20 years. It includes innovative and sustainable designs for a new transit plaza, hotel and residential blocks, and open spaces which will create an experience for visitors and residents that is unique to Sacramento. Through this plan, we are actively shaping a transit-first future and demonstrating aggressive strategies to achieve a zero-carbon future. Unlike California's other big cities, Sacramento has vacant property at the heart of our city. We can undertake large projects in part of the downtown core that are currently underdeveloped. This includes the rail yards, an area that is 16 times larger than the New York's recently completed Hudson Yards. In addition, the Sacramento Valley Station area will provide enhanced connections to our waterfront. All of these developments and projects working together will continue our renaissance here in the downtown core. We can see in the Bus Mobility Center that both the city and CCJPA are pursuing. The plan's first phase will maximize benefits that can be realized from more than $6 billion in federal, state, regional, local, and private funds that have been and will be invested in downtown Sacramento's transit and mixed-use development infrastructure. As always, your city and I want to hear from you, and that's the purpose of this evening. Thank you again for joining us. I'm so excited for this future gateway to our indomitable city.
Thank you, Nicole. And now I'd like to introduce Vice Mayor Jeff Harris. Jeff, would you like to share some introductory thoughts?
Sure, thank you, Gladys. I'm really pleased to be here. Of course, the Sacramento Valley Station is within District 3, as is the rail yard project. And I think all of you probably recognize what development of the rail yards means to the city. It's as big as our city center, and when fully built out, it will really change the face of our city and how we motivate, how we mobilize, how we get around Sacramento is very much dependent upon a grand vision for the Sacramento Valley Station. Since I've got your ear, I've just got to take a second to call out Greg Taylor, who masterminded a brilliant renovation of the train station that it just shines. It's made it a really fantastic place to be in the city. So Greg, thank you for all your work.
I'm listening to something, okay?
Yeah, somebody's listening to something. Anyway, you know, I'm really glad you're all here. This plan is being shaped through public participation. And as Congresswoman Matsui said, there is an equity piece here, but the themes were all about connectivity and sustainability. That's where we have to go. If you pay attention to council, you notice that we entertained the climate action plan that was put forth by the Climate Commission and made recommendations that council will take forward. And I think we'll have a very positive effect as we go into a period of increasing climate change, which I think we can all acknowledge is we witness it day to day. You know, for the last 2 years, we've had big fires, and we really need to change the way we do mobility to address climate change. And so this hub, our Sacramento Valley Station, is really the epicenter for public transportation and creating opportunities for people to motivate all around the western states and even to the eastern states. We're uniquely situated, and as Doris said, this is a very active train station. So bringing in other modes as well as active transportation lead to sustainability. So your thoughts are most welcomed. I look forward to this presentation as well. And I'll quit talking and let the experts tell you what we've come up with. So thank you, Gladys and team. You've done a great job hosting these meetings, and I really appreciate your efforts as well.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Harris. So really quickly before we get into the presentation, I just want to make sure that we acknowledge the project team. It definitely took a village, I think, to make this happen. And I'd like to start by introducing the City of Sacramento's project manager, Greg Taylor, who's been on this project even longer than the consultant team has. Geeti Sawal, she is the team leader, and she's with Perkins Will and has provided the urban design for this project. Grimshaw is our station architecture. ARUP provided sustainability, transportation, and civil engineering. Nelson Nygaard provided the transit and bikes plan. DKS provided the traffic analysis. EPS provided economics, and AIM Consulting provided the public outreach. And so with that, I'd like to invite Greg Taylor to provide us with the project context.
Thank you, Gladys. Thank you, Councilmember Vice Mayor Harris, for those kind words and your continued support for this project. The city is very grateful for your leadership in your district on this project. Thank you. I just want to kick off by just a brief look back of what we've accomplished and highlight what we've been doing for these past 3 years. Since 2017, when we started this early phase of work, we started with engagement of over 1,600 community members, and I believe we have close to a third of that registered tonight. We thank you for your continued support and participation. We've done that through a series of community workshops, online questionnaires, informational videos, pop-up workshops, and stakeholder focus group meetings. And we've taken all of your comments to heart. We've posted them online. We have an exhaustive recording of our process on our website, www.sacramentovalley.station.org. And we encourage you to look back through that and their continued progress on this project through the website. We have a world experience team of urban designers and transportation experts. As Gladys introduced, Perkins and Will, Grimshaw, and Arup have evaluated successful transit stations and designed many untold number of stations throughout the country and around the world, utilizing best practices in transit planning, industry, and worldwide research on sustainable design. And we are very fortunate to have this team working with here in Sacramento to develop this area plan. We've also developed valuable partnerships with the Capital Corridor, San Joaquin JPA, Caltrans District 3, and Caltrans Rail and Mass Transit, Regional Transit, and over 14 regional bus agencies that serve the downtown Sacramento area that we see making those connections into the Sacramento Valley Rail Station. Locally, we have had support and partnering opportunities with California State Division of Parks through the Railroad Museum and the Capitol Parks Division, the Downtown Rail Yards Development Group, and SMUD, among many others, in their input and interest and participation in our workshops these past 3 years. I also want to take the time to thank each of our city departments and staff for a fantastic interdepartmental cooperation and support for this project, and they're all acknowledged in the public draft that just is online now at our website. So with this, I want to just mention that this is not going to be a plan that will sit on a shelf. It is intended to provide a pathway for expanding regional transportation services and developing the Sacramento Valley Station with transportation as the lead, but with a true sense of place and destination for Sacramento, the region, and as the Congresswoman stated, a true hub for Northern California. I'll speak a little more on next steps at the end of the presentation, but with that, I want to turn it over to Gidi Suwal, Principal at Perkins and Will, to go over the key elements of the plan.
Thank you, Greg. Can you hear me clearly? Thanks. Thanks, Greg. I would like to orient people to the site before we dive into the future transformation that we're imagining for this place. Keep this image in mind because you'll probably not be able to recognize it once we get into the plan and start showing you all the development and all of the great public realm interventions that we're proposing. The site as it stands today has the rail station and the tracks on the northern end. It has the I Street on its southern end, and it's flanked on its eastern by 5th Street and by the river on the west side. And it's largely a surface parking lot with the historic station right at its heart. And as you look through the plan, keep the historic station in mind because that will help you orient you and kind of recognize how things are changing here. To step back and take a look at where we started with, this is, it's been so thoughtfully already conveyed by Congresswoman and the mayor and the vice mayor. This is clearly a once in a lifetime project, and it wants to be an arrival, a gateway. It wants to be a civic landmark, and at the heart, it wants to be a regional intermodal hub for the city of Sacramento and the region. But we wanted to kind of take a look at that and really step back to figure out this is a large fabric of Sacramento that really needs to first create a place. It needs to be a place where people come first. And you prioritize low carbon modes of mobility over single occupancy vehicle car movement. So we started our framework with a thinking around what are the larger goals that this project needs to really embed as values. And we started with placemaking to really respond to the historic context, respond to the cultural identity of this place, and be a really vibrant destination as it transforms in the years to come. Most importantly, this wanted to also be a mobility hub that has a seamless connectivity with all the different modes coming together. Rail tracks by nature divide cities and they bifurcate neighborhoods, but the station kind of took it upon itself as a responsibility to kind of bridge across these physical barriers and be a connector for the people and be beyond a station and be looked at as a destination for people, for the community. It was also pushing to kind of really focus on the reduced greenhouse gas emissions that we were given a charge to accomplish. And the idea was to kind of really turn the whole current paradigm on its head and reduce the parking that is on the site, and the development would really be pushing for very minimized parking and right-sizing it for just the few development elements that exist. User experience is primary. It's definitely something that this place is wanting to push for. What is the experience? What is the culture? What is the identity of this place? And what is the memory that you take away from this place? So as we deliver and as people kind of connect through all the different modes that are coming together on this side, the idea was also, what do people take away and how do you make it so legible, so clear, and so diverse an experience that it invites everybody here because of its vibrancy and its unique experience. It sits right next to the river, and that's something we definitely wanted to capitalize on. How do we really build upon some of the great work that's been done along the waterfront, the trails, and how do we bring that back in and really leverage the natural systems? And you'll see that as we kind of move forward, that health and well-being of the people, of the city, of the community, of the planet was kind of primary in how we moved forward and how we kind of guided ourselves in this plan. Just to stay on sustainability for a minute, this project has been really ambitious in the goals that it has set for itself. It has aligned itself with the Living Community Challenge Master Plan goals, which at its heart really is inspired by ideas of regeneration. And it wants and guides the design and the construction to produce places that are socially just, culturally rich, and ecologically regenerative. The plan pushes to deliver living building challenge public buildings. That's the station and the bus mobility center. And we'll talk about it in a few slides later. Starting with transit connectivity. The station is a historic depot right now. That's how you recognize, that's the identity the place has. It builds on the historic station as a place and adds a whole new paradigm of different transit connectivity, with a new Sacramento light rail station being added along the east edge of the new station concourse. The new station concourse kind of bridging over and above the rail tracks and connecting to the rail yard shop district on the north end. A bus mobility center and a district parking facility that's completely integrated and is going to be delivered as a well-integrated mobility hub with the station, and the possibility of a streetcar connection connecting West Sacramento through the station and to the airport. These are all different kind of modes that are coming together besides the bike and the pedestrian connectivity. To step back and take a look at it in a plan, you have the rail road that the Amtrak trains run through. The bus mobility center is planned for the north edge. The station concourse bridges over the rail tracks. The light rail sits on the east end. The streetcar alignment comes in from 3rd Street, comes up north and turns onto 8th Street. The 5th Street is going to be a busy connection with the inner city bus stops along it, and a dwelling area for the inner city bus stations. Bus stops are aligned along the G Street. So all of these modes are coming together, and the goal for us was to really push to make sure that all of this is seamlessly connected, has intuitive wayfinding possibilities, and people have ease in just finding ways to kind of connect through. We have overlaid all of that with a really robust network of bike. As you can see to this diagram, there are lots of ways we have provided here, options for people to kind of connect to the river trail along the Sacramento River, build on the street bike connections, the bike lanes that are being proposed, but really provide for a cut through and a very robust network for bicyclists to kind of navigate their way through the site. At a quick glimpse, the pedestrian and bike network clearly dominates the public realm experience of this place. It is one where we put people first, and it makes it much more pleasant. It makes it comfortable. It makes it safe for people to be moving around in active modes, and would probably be the preferred choice for people to use these modes over being dropped here by a car or by other rideshare possibilities. This all comes together in the area plan that we're proposing. That's the vision is to really develop, provide for the connectivity for all the different modes, but really be a place that emphasizes the land value capture because of all of the transit investment that's being made, and provides a mixed use, vibrant neighborhood with a mix of uses, which really make this a neighborhood that's desired and loved by people. I would like to invite Robert, the managing director of Capital Corridor Joint Powers Authority, to share his words on this slide.
Geeti, thank you. I just want to encourage you to put your mic a little closer to your mouth. Some people are having a little difficulty hearing you. And then I just also want to remind folks that it looks like everybody is asking questions in the chat box, which is great. We are collecting those, and we will be answering them in the Q&A session at the conclusion. So if you have questions and they pop up during the presentation, feel free to do that. We are tracking them. So thank you very much.
Thanks. And Gladys, this is Rob Patchett. I just want to make sure you can hear me clearly before I comment.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. So I just want to say thank you to the City of Sacramento and to the partnership. You know, it's hard to overstate how important the Sacramento station is to the Capital Corridor service. We serve the station with 30 trips a day, and 70%, more than 70% of our riders are getting on or off at the Sacramento station. So this is exactly the kind of project that we think will continue to grow our service. We already have a very strong foundation of people getting to our station on different modes of transportation, including biking, walking, scooters, and all of this will help grow that service. So we're excited about it. We think this is the kind of project that can encourage travel that is reducing greenhouse gas emissions, that can help grow the economy and connect Sacramento to other places. And just again, thanks to the team, and we look forward to the continued partnership as we turn this into reality.
Thank you, Robert. Talking about the development potential and the development pattern that's being proposed on this side, we definitely look at the possibility of leveraging all of this investment and seeing what's the high intensity, mixed use, really vibrant and diverse neighborhood that can be provided here. And we intentionally look to see how we can add uses that make this place 24/7 alive. There is a proposed at the lot 40, which is owned by DRV, the Rail Yards District developers, is proposed as a commercial lot along 5th Street. There is a hotel parcel that's being proposed on the block A, right next to the historic station. And the block B is being proposed as a residential block to kind of really have that live, work, play environment over here. And the residential block is kind of pushed to kind of look at how it could encourage to have both affordable housing and market rate housing to invite all kind of in all income levels here on the site. In addition, there is a regenerative utility center that's being proposed on the site, and it's right at the heart of the transit plaza, and brings together and really puts forward a strong sustainability statement of the goals, and it showcases the values of this project. The Bus Mobility Center and the New Station Concourse are at the heart of all of this, and we'll dive into both of those and explain and walk you through some of the thinking on those two buildings. But before we do that, a quick glimpse of what we're imagining this place to transform into: a place which really puts people first and really emphasizes low carbon modes of mobility, and creates a really vibrant and a welcoming and an inviting place as a gateway to Sacramento. The New Station Concourse is proposed as to have a strong dialogue with the historic depot. It sits right across from the historic depot and is proposed to be open to really allow for passive energy treatment over here, and allows for people to really pass through this as a connected to the rail yards district. The Transit Plaza itself is wanting to be a really inviting place, which would invite the community as well as the visitors and the commuters to the station, and would be a place and a destination, much like a ferry building of San Francisco, which is thought about first as a destination for the city and a transit hub as a secondary use. The idea is to really make this a clearly and inviting and a very welcoming place. The station concourse has 3 levels. At the ground, it will have retail uses. It will have a backup house and bike hub, and all the different facilities that will really welcome people in. On the second level, it has a concourse that connects people through a whole lot of amenities and retail uses, and connects them all onto the rail yards. And the roof level is planned to really kind of include a lot of sustainability strategies with photovoltaics and green roofs. The building, the station concourse, and the bus mobility center navigate a number of different grade levels, and are planned to have a parking. The bus mobility center, just to orient you a little bit, the section that is shown over here is cut through the bus mobility center and the new station concourse, and looks towards the station, the existing platforms right now. And you can see how both these buildings, the bus mobility center and the station concourse, have to be kind of thoughtfully planned and integrated in a way that they seamlessly flow people through the bus plaza and onto the station concourse and connect them to the rail platform. The bus mobility center is at 2 levels. It has 2 decks. At a -5 level, it has a parking level, and it's and a hub for paratransit drop-off area. On the deck, on the upper deck, at a +8 feet level, it has 18 bus space, and it will have service. The Greyhound service would also be kind of invited and expected to kind of have bus drop-offs here. And the station concourse itself will connect from the transit plaza up to a 32 feet level, so that it can kind of navigate over the rail track and allow for free movement of trains below the station concourse, and navigate people up above the rail tracks and allow them to kind of get to the platform and to the rail district beyond. A quick look and a more detailed look at the bus mobility center. At the lower level is the parking level, and provides connection from the existing tunnel that exists as an underpass at the station site right now. The bus bay is a deck over it, and is at a +8.5, 8 feet 6 inches level. The roof has been planned to be programmed to kind of really showcase a whole lot of sustainability strategies and embed some biophilic design ideas. And it will have photovoltaics on its roof, and will provide for some open tree wells and filter in lights so that people can really have a pleasant experience as they're waiting for buses at the Bus Mobility Center. Along the east edge of the station concourse is an eastern entry which connects the G Street extension on 5th Street onto the station concourse. So it creates a welcoming entry for the eastern neighborhood and creates a strong gateway to the station from the east side of the building. And that is, the G Street is at a higher level because the G Street, the 5th Street climbs up and over the rail track. So that's at a plus 16 feet when it navigates up. And this plaza has a pleasant way of kind of connecting to the station and navigating up to a level of plus 32 feet to the station concourse. And all along, while being a passageway, it's wanting to be an inviting plaza for the buildings that will happen, flank it on either sides, and create a place and a destination for people to kind of spill out and really enjoy it as yet another amenity for the community and the city. The residential neighborhood and the blocks and the hotel blocks on the west end of the site are also kind of pushing to really create a place which is livable. It's not just for visitors and commuters, but this is also a place where people will be residing. And the plan has been, the push has been to work towards a plan where you would have a design which would afford and which would kind of really enable both an affordable housing component of housing and a market rate. So we kind of plan to, for mid-rise buildings, which is hopefully by design make it affordable for affordable housing, and then a high-rise which has a market rate component to it. And on the foreground, you see a hotel, a lobby area, which is, and these two connected through a paseo, which take you further in and connect you to the Bus Mobility Center in the backdrop. Talking about the public REM interventions, this place clearly takes a leap in terms of transforming it from what it exists right now as a service parking lot into being a really welcoming destination for the community. We're looking to kind of orient a civic plaza along I Street and make that a really strong landmark, and have a Chinese commemorative garden on the south edge of the historic station, and provide for a really strong bike and pedestrian path connecting the bicyclists and pedestrians to the river trail on the west side. And between the historic station and the new station concourse is the transit plaza, which is a car-free zone and is wanting to have a really strong dialogue between the two, the historic station and the new station, and be a potential spill-out space for different events and programs the city might want to host at different times of the day in the season. The Civic Plaza, a quick look at how we imagine it to be transformed, a really inviting place for the city to possibly look to host farmers market, maybe on a weekend, for the community members to take a stroll and find ways to connect with nature, while at the same time making sure that it has clear connectivity for people who are wanting to get to the transit station, to be connected through paths that take you through the historic station and into the transit plaza. On the east end, the 5th Street Plaza, the connection really has a way to kind of navigate up from the 5th Street connection, which is at plus 16 feet, to the new station concourse at the plus 32 feet, and create the plaza that I'd shown a rendering a couple of slides back. At the east entrance, the plaza will be, the 5th Street Plaza will give you clear connectivity to the light rail platform further below at the transit plaza, and provide you straight connectivity to the train stations and the regional buses in the Bus Mobility Center further west. Along the west edge of the park, below the elevated freeway, is the Viaduct Park. We are wanting to see what can be imagined in this place below the freeway to be one that has the community taking advantage of, the community that's living there and the community that's there, the surrounding neighborhood, and provide a whole host of amenities that will allow people to kind of spill out here and enjoy recreational amenities like rock climbing area, a skate park, dog park, and also provide space for a community garden for people to kind of engage in an urban garden and an urban agriculture offering. The Viaduct Park also has a regenerative garden and a stormwater treatment area. And the idea is to really look to see how you can capture water from the freeway and find a way to treat that in this regenerative garden, while also looking to see how this could act as a best management practice for stormwater treatment for the site here. A quick glimpse of what this area might want to be. This area is generally associated with a pretty dark and shady environment that is not as welcoming, has a lot of surface parking here, but our hope is that we can really transform it to be an enjoyable place that connects people as they're connecting from the transit station and making their way to the old Sacramento. And the hope is that it would really bring the community and draw the community to this community asset. All of this kind of being brought together into a general framework that is being guided by a biophilic design. How do we look to plan for this place, which is generally associated with a buzz and an activity and a vibrancy, which is more paved and which allows for people to kind of navigate through and connect easily. But our hope is that this is also a place where there's connectedness to nature, where you're connected to your sensory experiences, just opening yourself to the lights and sounds of nature and really being able to draw the river and all of the life that the waterfront offers into the site and further into the downtown Sacramento. That's a segue to the other sustainability strategies that this project has been pushing for. And at its heart, we have placed a strong statement to really showcase what this project stands for. The district utility plant, which also has a wastewater recycling plant, has been labeled as a regenerative utility center, and it showcases some of the more district energy and water systems thinking that this project is pushing for. On its face, it has a lively cafe bar on its on its north edge, but behind it, it has the workings of a district energy and a district water plant, a district wastewater plant, which would be an educational element and would hopefully kind of inspire people to kind of look for ways to deliver similar goals of sustainability that this project is pushing for. The Regenerative Utility Center is looked at and placed in a place as an extension of the historic depot and along the west edge, and it kind of flanks the transit plaza and tries to hold the volume there and create an active edge with a retail and a cafe opening on the north edge, and has a more of an atrium-like feel along between the historic station and the Regenerative Utility Center, to offer people an opportunity to really connect and at a future date, hopefully connect with the different users that both the Regenerative Utility Center and the Historic Center and the Historic Depot might want to offer and provide for connectivity between the two buildings. The Regenerative Utility Center is really wanting to be a centralized on-site energy and a distribution hub, and is looking to kind of be off the grid and provide for 105% of the renewable energy needs of on the site. Not all the needs can be met. Some energy need will have to be plugged in from off-site, but the goal is to push for and generate as much energy on the site with photovoltaics wherever possible, and by tapping into geothermal energy below the bus mobility center. The plan was, we'd explored a lot to kind of push to see how the building orientation of the site could really maximize on the energy performance. And there were lots of exploration done to figure out what might be the right location and the orientation of the towers and the different footprint that we are looking at. And sometimes, given the constraints of the site and given all of the mobility needs, that wasn't, it wasn't possible to kind of provide the most efficient and the ideal location. For instance, lot 40 along 5th Street would ideally benefit by being oriented east-west, but given the constraints, it can only be oriented north-south. And similarly, the hotel block 2 does not perform ideally. So the push is to, and this is embedded in the design guidelines that we have put together, the push is to kind of really emphasize and add a whole lot more and sustainability strategies to really accomplish the goals of this project to be just net zero energy. The geothermal energy that's being tapped below the bus mobility center is another resource for renewable energy. And these are 65 feet deep piles that are being planned for below the bus mobility center and taking advantage of the geothermal energy to really contribute to the renewable energy source on the site. The district energy system is trying to look beyond the site, and it's trying to capitalize on the railway museum and look for opportunities to provide and fold in the railway museum and its need for energy to actually be provided by this regenerative utility center network that we'll be providing. So it looks beyond the site and looks to see how it can really encompass some of the needs and challenges of the surrounding area. Similarly, the district water system is a possibility for us to kind of look at how we can really capture all the gray water and the black water produced on the site and treat it and recycle it back for non-potable uses. The Regenerative Utility Center has the wastewater recycling plant in it, and it wants to kind of provide for 100% of its non-potable needs through this, through the system. All of these strategies come together to really push to make this a really inspiring and a really aspirational living community challenge plan. And I would like to invite first Ty Smith from the Railway Museum to speak about this plan, and then Kathleen, we would love to have you from SMUD speak about this, these strategies that we're putting forward.
Ty, you might be muted.
Am I on? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. Such a pleasure to be here with all of you and to consider our future. You know, our lives are made of railroad stories. It's our most iconic music and movies. It is our very language. We're always getting off track or derailed or trying to gather up a full head of steam to accomplish one task or another. And then our very spatial relationships to the city and the world around us are the product of railroad decisions that were made 150 years ago. So we're a railroad people through and through, and that's especially true in the city of Sacramento, which was the terminus of the Transcontinental Railroad, an innovation in time that connected the nation in a way that it never was before, but also the world. And it is, we are the product of that decision as a people globally. So we're excited about the prospects of this. There's a lot of new, when you look at this, these plans, you see all kinds of new buildings and innovation and a lot of technical detail, but there's a lot of old and that which is historical in this as well. And I think one of the exciting things about this project is the way that it marries the old with the new. Right in the middle of that rail yards project are two buildings. One, the corrugated metal building, the oldest west of the Mississippi, by the way, which is actively part of our operation now at the California State Railroad Museum. It was a place where locomotives were built and maintained and restored, and it still is to this very day. So we're proud to be a part of that and continue on with that. A lot of the talk in the past had talked about that, the build out of those two buildings, both the metal building and then the brick building behind it, which is also part of California State Parks and the California State Railroad Museum. We talked about it in terms of a railroad technology museum. We've moved past that thinking. We really are starting to think of that extension to our old Sacramento State Historic Park and Railroad Museum campus as something that is much more educational in nature, an actual hub of education in a variety of ways that let career technical education, young STEAM learners, and also graduate students working on a variety of disciplines to actually learn by doing and get down into it. And so we're just very proud to be a whole part of the larger project. We're very excited about the opportunities to integrate what is being done on the city level with what's being done in our long-term plans for that facility. And it really just, I think, the whole project together, taken as a whole, encapsulates the very type of innovation that led to things like the Transcontinental Railroad and really made the West and California a hub of innovation that it is today. So thank you for allowing me a little time to speak on the project, and we're very excited about the prospects.
Thank you, Ty. Kathleen, are you there?
Am I muted?
You are not muted anymore.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation to participate and to share highlights of SMUD's partnership thus far in this incredibly important project. And Geeti has highlighted some of the important elements that flow from this project undertaking the Living Community Challenge. And I wanted to focus my comments on some of those because I think this is a green building framework that may be new to some of you, and it is really worth emphasizing because it is a really unique feature, and it is it's like sustainability on steroids in a way, and hopefully I can explain a little more about that. So SMUD became involved initially in this project through what we called our Living Future Accelerator, and that followed the successful certification of what is California's very first living building, and it's the world's first adaptive reuse project that's right here in Sacramento, and that's the headquarters of the architectural firm ArchNexus. And during the design and construction and then the certification of that building, we learned, along with many other people in the community, about just how powerful the Living Future frameworks are to really transform our sort of traditional notions of sustainability. Because instead of incremental efforts that really, quite frankly, fail to keep up with the continuing environmental and social harms that we're experiencing, ILFI projects actually have a positive impact. Instead of just being less bad, they are truly good. And they represent really an opportunity to reweave the fabric of our neighborhoods and the services that support them. And I really want to commend city staff, Greg and Hinda at the time, and Jennifer Venema for engaging in the accelerator that we started to try to leverage all the knowledge that came from ArchNexus building that building here, and then create more living future projects in the Sacramento region. And so the Sacramento Valley Station project is actually one of 10 additional ILFI projects that are now underway here, following a detailed design charrette that we did with the project team, and a feasibility study that compared the Valley Station's project goals with the requirements of LCC. LCC projects are fossil free, and they don't get certified unless they actually perform to the imperatives for at least a year. And that means they are an antidote to greenwashing and the cynicism that surrounds that. And they really ensure that public investment will actually have delivered beneficial results. And so, of course, for SMUD, we're incredibly excited to work with the city to plan the innovative energy supply mix that Gidi mentioned, and to help them achieve the requirements of the energy pedal. And they're planning to do this with renewable geothermal and photovoltaics on site in combination with SMUD's Solar Shares program. That supplies utility and community scale solar that is Greenie certified. So a combination of on-site and off-site. And really the Regenerative Energy Center, I mean, the idea that the energy and water utilities would be a showcase is something that we think is fabulous. And beyond energy and water, the plan will really be a showcase for all the innovative designs that go beyond energy that we really need to accomplish the recommendations of both the Mayor's Climate Commission that were just accepted by the council last night and the Climate Emergency Declaration that the SMUD board approved recently, which seeks to achieve carbon neutral electricity in the region by 2030. And as you can see from the breadth of the plans that are shown on this slide alone, the standards for energy, water, materials, health and happiness, equity and beauty, combined with the scale and the reach and the exposure of this project will really raise the bar for development overall in this region and demonstrate that the socially just, culturally rich, and ecologically restorative communities that Gidi mentioned earlier are absolutely achievable here. So hats off to all of you for putting all this together, and we look forward to continuing to partner to make it a reality. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. I'll invite Craig to speak about the phasing and the next steps.
Thank you, Gidi. Thank you, Ty, Kathleen, Rob, for your support and comments on helping us lead this plan into the future. And as we do that, we see that it will be
Thank you,
a
sweetie.
plan that evolves over time. There's a lot of pieces, as you've seen tonight. Many of the pieces revolve around the advancement of the rail network that the state of California, CalSTA, is moving forward, most recently with the state rail plan of 2018 that sees Sacramento as that hub, as part of a hub and spoke system for all the connections in Northern California. And the first phase of that we see is the bus mobility center, along with the movement of light rail. I think I can use my cursor here to this north-south orientation. Currently, those of you that have been to the station know that light rail comes in and dead ends as a terminus here on the back of the station, cutting off all the majority of the site north of it, with the exception of the one passenger pass through here to the tracks. The tracks are scheduled to be aligned. Sacramento RT is pursuing funding for that, along with partnership with the city. And along with that, the building of the bus mobility center and the drop-off area will actually bring full-fledged transit services to the station with the building of that. We submitted a grant for this project in the last round of state funding in 2020. I'll talk to you more. We did not get the funding for this facility, but I'll talk to you more about in our next steps of what we will be able to build on that. So with that phase one, we see phase two as a possibility, and these are a bit crystal ball phases, our best attempt and guess, thinking about the market, again, thinking about the facilitation of new services. Rob and Capital Corridor are working along with the San Joaquins to provide maintenance facilities, established maintenance facilities that currently exist in Sacramento. We currently are a layover station with 5 trains that lay over for service overnight, and the crew base that exists all in the west side of the station, which we developed in the phase 2 project of the rehab of the station. Those facilities, I think we have somebody off mute. those facilities were actually put in with improvements that were meant to be a long-term temporary, not knowing how long they would reside, but could be removed for the transformation of the station as the movement of facilities move closer to the tracks. So with those new services for the rail, that could open up opportunities for the west side as an early stage. And then we see the advancement of the first phase of the concourse overlap here. And thank you, my cursor's not showing up, I guess. The southern half of the station at the first part, which would give us full connectivity from all the modes servicing, and we could bridge with a light bridgeway across if lot 40, the development is not developed at that point in time. Moving on to phase 3 is what we really see is the needed capacity for advancing the station over the tracks, which also includes probably the need for widening the platforms for the capacities that we see in the rail plan. This is more out in line. We're in the year of 2040-ish in this phase, and connecting with the new concourse that would descend onto the tracks, completing that station expansion, along with the above grade connection 24/7 through vertical circulation from the rail yards plaza through to the south of the tracks on the site. Retaining the existing Steve Cohen passageway tunnel, or primarily we see bike movements and maybe some PED movements, but more of a express bike connection below the tracks to get people through north-south. And we really see the phase, because we've heard loud and clear from our development partners in the city, transit agencies around the state, that we held a one-day workshop, and just the market, seeing what happened in Salesforce, Transbay Terminal in San Francisco. And as a publicly owned site, we really need to get the transportation right. It needs to be the fulcrum of development for not only for Sacramento, but for the region, and to build that out. And development will, the value capture will come from the development of this station that will serve not only the station site, but the rail yards downtown and the whole city. So we've kind of laid out a course here that we see these other two buildings probably coming on in the latter phase, and the park to the west as well with that, along with the housing. Now, this does not mean that this is set in stone by any means. We're going to be, as we continue on, this is not, as I said, on the shelf. We will be moving forward with the exploring options and how these pieces lay out. But this is our best guess, the information we know at this time in the current market and the current rail conditions to lay out the phasing. And back to Gidi.
Yeah, I think with that, we have kind of taken you through the vision of this whole station area, and would love to open it up to question and answer, and any comments. And I know Gladys, you and Nicole are kind of monitoring the comments.
Thank you, Edie. We had lots of really good discussion happening in the chat box, so we will go through those questions. And go through as many of them as we can in the next half an hour. So with that, Nicole, do you want to share what some of the first questions are?
Gladys?
Yeah. Yes, Greg?
I'm going to interrupt. I do want to cover our next steps, if I could, for everyone, because I think they addressed some of the questions.
Okay.
Thank you. So I want for the public to know, the plan that we have up online and you've seen tonight is an area plan. It's a plan, a set of goals, and it exists within the rail yards planning area. They're known as the rail yard specific plan. As kind of a separate process to developing this plan, we will be amending the rail yard specific plan to insert some of the high level pieces of this plan into the overall specific plan. And those hearings will start with Planning and Design Commission in October, and a series of meetings will take us to Council in December. I also want to mention just the implementation. As I mentioned, SAC-RT is pursuing funding for the light rail station realignment, and there's also continuation pursuit for the riverfront streetcar, which is to come in on the west side of the station area. And we have also pursued, as I mentioned, a grant round in 2020 for state funding. We did not get the Bus Mobility Center, but we did get funded for 3 study grants that will set us up in a much better position for reapplication in 2020. And we got a design construction grant. So those two, first of the 2 studies were for the transportation bus network. SACOG will be leading these studies to line our regional bus services that will come into the Bus Mobility Center into hopefully a more organized transit corridor through downtown, midtown, and throughout the central city, tying into the station, along with another funding source. We're combining this into one study. They're both kind of joined at the hip with locating a regional bus layover and EV charging facility for electric buses. Electric buses mandated by the state by 2045, and there's earlier metrics on that for converting our bus fleets into full electric. So we will be studying those through SACOG. I've seen in the chat, there's been a lot of questions about the northbound ramp, and we show that in our plan here as still an existing piece, but we did apply and receive funding to do a study on a concept we do have for shifting the northbound ramp to the west side of 3rd Street, springing closer to the rail tracks or from the northwest side of 3rd and I, and creating a true intersection for peds and bikes at that southwestern corner of the site. The great thing for the transit piece is this actually provides full north and south access from I-5 via the exit ramps down into J Street, or the ramps come up from the south to get regional buses into the site directly in and out of the station. Lastly, as I mentioned, is the design and construction for a new entrance into the rail yards from the existing passenger tunnel known as the Steve Cohn Passageway. That will be into the central area of the rail yards between the paint shop building, just underneath where we show our concourse, right there on the site. So we will be working with the developers who own the property on that side and implementing and working with CCJPA and their transit partners and developing a stair and ramp connection into the plaza that has funding for construction. And as I said, we will go back in 2020 to reapply for the Bus Mobility Center with Capital Corridor, who is our agency sponsor. And we have taken the Bus Mobility Center actually to 30% design, which is very somewhat detailed design and costing, so we can make those applications. And with the network studies, as I said, we should be in good shape. We will also be funding, looking for funding to pursue our regenerative utility center for more detailed phasing and construction. Or not construction, but leading towards implementation and phased implementation. And lastly, as Kathleen outlined, the importance of our Living Future project, we are right in the application stage right now, writing the check for the review. We will be the first municipality in the world to apply and submit a vision plan under the Living Community Challenge. Other organizations, including UC Monterey and UC San Francisco, have submitted vision plans as universities, but we will be the first municipality to submit for that. So that's quite an exciting milestone for the city of Sacramento. So that's what I wanted to conclude with and turn it back over to our much needed comments. Thank you all.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, with that, let's see how many of these questions we can get through. I know a number of them probably got answered. They were asking early, but we'll just go ahead and answer them again, just in case some people missed the first part of the meeting. So with that, Nicole, do you want to start us off?
Mm-hmm. So the first question is, with parking needs minimized, are there plans to build more light rail stations to ensure connectivity to the station?
Who wants to take that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Greg. Yeah, definitely. This plan is proposing a new light rail station, but in the system around, Greg, you want to?
Yeah, well, there is a network. This station, new station platform, which is known as the Green Line. It's the loop coming into the station and looping out F Street to 7th Street and connect up with the rail yards. There'll be another station stop that is funded up near the MLS station, MLS Stadium. And then, of course, there's the Township 9 station, and that line eventually goes out across the river to the airport. So we foresee, as part of this phasing out surface parking. We currently, Sacramento Valley Station is a park and ride station, for lack of a better term. And with the more robust connections, we see that we can transfer some of that parking need into the bus mobility center, and we foresee more reliance on car share and other multi-mode opportunities that would lessen the need for surface parking, day parking, so people will connect via other transit modes.
Okay, thank you, Greg and Katie. The next question is, will cycling access to the river from the light rail stop be restored?
You can go ahead.
From the light rail.
Well, do you want to take that?
Go ahead, Greg.
Yes, I think through the bike network, we see part of the bus mobility center application was included the bikeway along the north side of the bus mobility center down to a point corresponding with the extension of 2nd Street in the existing parking lot area. That was kind of a first phase connection that will get people into the bus mobility center, and we showed that we do have provisions for, I think we have 2,500 square feet for a 2-level bike facility in the bus mobility center itself. And then we're working with West Sacramento on their connection over the existing I Street Bridge, the 2-story bridge. And when the city of Sacramento builds the new replacement bridge north that ties into rail yards, the upper deck of the historic bridge is slated to turn into a bike pedestrian connection with vertical. You see some of the suggestions there of the helix loops going up. We just are working on different options of access up to the top of the bridge. And that'll be another partnership with our state parks partners going along their property line there. So yes, we definitely want to be mending the bike access.
Okay, great. The next question is, can you please explain the relationship between the station area plan and the new MLS stadium?
I guess I'll take that one. I think the relationship is really via our transit network, via the new light rail stations that I mentioned before, the connectivity through the light rail. Also, from a pedestrian point of view, I think the north entrance that we're pursuing into the historic Shops Plaza will be definitely, it's a longer walk, but I think people as they mill and want to enjoy the rail yards would be able to access the station from that point of view as well. And then also our local bus services through regional transit getting us to the station, and our micro transits. We've made sure in the lower level of the bus mobility center to provide micro transit. So our Sacramento RT Smart Ride, the Jive, other paratransit all can get into the bus station and circulate the street network.
Okay. The next question is, what will the existing historic station be used for?
Sure, yeah, I can jump in, and Greg, you can add to that. The historic station, clearly, I mean, it has a lot of transit focus right now, but the idea is to kind of move all of those programs to the new station concourse and really consolidate all of that and really open up the historic station to a possibility of a lively civic kind of landmark, maybe an opportunity for cafes and restaurants and museum spaces. So make it be a destination in and of itself and not necessarily one that is needing to host any of the transit users. The hope is that it'll be a draw by itself.
Yeah, if I can add, currently we have, when we restored the building, we currently now have 26,000 square feet of leasable space, and we're almost entirely leased up on the western side of the building along the northern edge. And Amtrak has, with their outside space, they have about 30,000 square feet. And they currently hold a lease through 2026 with 3 5-year options that take them to 2041. However, with the changes I mentioned that could be on the horizon in the next, I don't know, 5-10 years within, who knows, Rob would maybe know more. Some of those operational needs will move, and there may be an opportunity to relook at the lease premises there and open up some opportunities. But we definitely see programmatically that we'd want to retain a significant civic presence here, cultural presence here in the station in the large spaces. And I think that's really a discussion that the community and the city will have when that time comes.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit more about how parking has been integrated into this plan?
Yeah, I think that's something we started off with. This is clearly a large surface parking lot with parking below the viaduct and in front of the historic station. Of course, opportunities north of the historic station too. But the goal was to really make this right-size the parking and really make this push for zero parking amenity in this, allow for the development to leverage the transit modes that are all coming together. The parking right now is consolidated all in the lower deck below the bus mobility center. And it's a much reduced parking area that will provide for a minimum amount that might be needed to kind of serve some of the development here and any kind of need for the new station. That the goal is to kind of really push for as low a greenhouse gas emission program as possible, and parking was definitely not a program that we were looking to kind of host here.
And this is Rob Padgett. If I could add one more comment to that. I know not everyone is familiar with Capitol Corridor's typical riders, but we actually already have a very high share of our ridership that accesses our stations on bike. Bike is over 10%, walking, and through transit connections. And what we found is in stations where our community partners have provided solid transit connections, that a lot of our passengers, many of whom are riding because they care about the environment, want to reduce their carbon footprint, they prefer to do that. And so the degree to which we can strengthen those, make those stronger and safer, I think we will continue to see the share of non-auto connections to the station increase.
And if I could just add too, from a rail yards point of view, the intent of the whole rail yards plan is to create district parking garages that would serve the area and not park the buildings themselves. And that's the concept that we're also moving forward here as well. We already have the city parking garage in Old Sacramento under the freeway. There is a district plan parking for the rail yards just in the top of the photo image here between 5th and 6th Street. That is somewhere in the realm, I'm not sure the exact number, between 1,200 and 1,500 spaces that will serve the overall area, and it will obviously help any parking need that should need to bridge to where we see this future reality with people parking there. So I think with, as Rob says, the real focus here is building on the nature of the ridership that we have, and we will be enhancing the transit in the future that will decrease the parking need.
Okay, and I think this next question actually is a good transition from what Robert was mentioning. Are there plans for a large bicycle parking area anywhere at the station?
Gidi, can you maybe move to that slide?
I'm going to quickly take this back to the bike network slide, which showed us where we are looking to plan for. So this kind of shows you the current historic station right now does have a bike storage location, and that will continue to exist. On below in the lower deck of the bus mobility center, there is another mobility bike hub kind of planned for, which would also have provision for bike repair and a bike cafe there. So that's yet another bike hub that we're planning for. And of course, there will be other opportunities for bike talks and bike share program in the plazas on the north edge of the south transit plaza and also on the east entrance plaza. So the hope is that we make it as comfortable and as easy for bicyclists to kind of get here by bike or take their bike onto the train.
And that is in part of our bus mobility center that we're pursuing now as a first phase. So that would be, so we've carved out space along with restrooms down there. I don't know if we've mentioned that for those of you travel, know we need restrooms out there, but we could find a nonprofit or a vendor that would provide bike services as well as the storage and secure storage for bikes.
Okay, thank you. The next two questions all combined together. They relate to the sustainability piece. So what role is solar going to play, as well as other renewable energy? And what is a regenerative utility center?
Sure. I think solar is definitely something we've been pushing to make sure that we can capitalize on as much of the roof area to provide for PVs wherever possible. We don't, in this diagram, you can see we don't kind of we don't emphasize so much on the private development of footprint blocks, but we look to see how PVs can be a possibility on the entire station concourse, which we've made sure that it is not shaded a whole lot by the location of the towers. So maximizing on photovoltaics on the new station concourse and also on the bus mobility center. That's also an area in the early phase, like Greg was mentioning, in phase 1 as the bus mobility center comes into existence and block A and B are raised out, there will be a lot of solar energy to harness there. So the idea would be to really push for all of the horizontal planes to deploy photovoltaics and produce renewable energy. The regenerative utility center, we did talk about it. That's wanting to be a utility plant and a wastewater recycling plant. So it's where you would have both the generation and distribution for energy, but at the same time also look to recycle gray water and black water and provide it for non-potable uses. So it's pushing on all of the goals that we have to get towards 105% of energy needs on the site and get to 100% non-potable water supply from the site itself.
I wonder if Kathleen could, we know that because of the density of the site, we have very robust photovoltaics, but maybe Kathleen could speak. We'll be looking to SMUD Solar Shares program.
Sure.
Balance.
Right. So some of you may be familiar with Solar Shares. It's a program SMUD started many, many years ago to enable people who, for whatever reason, cannot put solar on their roofs directly, whether they be, renters or have too much tree canopy, which is a good problem to have. So, and we have that program available for residential customers and commercial customers. And the program is expecting to expand in the future, and so is contracting with a lot of different solar power plants, PV, utility scale and community scale projects. Some of them are in Sacramento, some of them are outside of Sacramento, but all of them are inside of California. And the generation from those projects, we sell it, we basically package it and sell it to customers who want to ensure that their supply is from solar and who want to support the development of the solar market. So that's the option that will make up the difference between what can be feasibly generated on site in this project and the total energy demand. So.
Okay, I think we have time for maybe one or two more questions. How will native plants be included in the station area plan? And will they be prioritized for tree selections or on green roofs?
Sure, I think, let me take you to a version of our plan. The goal would be to really push for drought tolerant plants as much as possible. And I want to probably land on the rendering here. And the push would be to see how we can really plan for as much of the softscape area to encourage the drought tolerant plants, but also look for best management policies, best management practices for stormwater. So planting that would help us in treating stormwater and bioswales, and encourage planting and vegetation that actually is native to this area. We're looking to see where we cannot have shade from buildings or from canopies to be provided by trees. So look for opportunities in the transit plaza and in the civic plaza where possible to actually have trees that cool this area and provide the necessary shade. So definitely a very rigorous thinking around making sure that we are being extremely conserving water and providing for the right kind of landscape in this place.
Okay, and then I think we'll finish up with one last question before we do wrap up. What is the anticipated timeline for this project and for construction to start?
Greg.
Well, we hope to start construction on the rampway probably within the next 2 years, the connection to the rail yards, but also it's pending funding sources for light rail for SAC-RT for moving the station, terminal station to the loop, and we will be pursuing the grant funding in 2022, and that might put us into possibly an opening of around 2027 if we're successful in funding. We'll just have to see how that goes. But we've kind of forecast out here with these larger visions of the concourse into the 20-year range and development. So it is a long-term plan vision with lots of sub-phases, even probably some sub-phases within these phases of developing and as we go. But we're moving forward and not waiting.
So maybe we could just go to the last slide that shows the website. Gidi, please. Thank you. Okay, so we apologize for not getting to all of the questions. There were quite a large number of them, but we will be getting to them via writing and then sharing them on the website. So the website is sacramentovalley.station.org. We will have the PowerPoint up there as well as the questions. Give us a few days to get the questions all answered and posted on the website. So we appreciate your patience on that because there were quite a number of them. All the comments that we received as well will be shared with the project team and will be taken into consideration as we move these projects forward. And with that, I would just want to thank everyone who took the time out of their evening to spend it with us. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about the plan, and it is available on the website as well. So you may go there and explore some more. And Greg, did you have any final comments before we let people go and have their dinner?
Well, thank you, Gladys. I just want to extend my gratitude first to the project team, Gidi, Gladys, and we have others that are, I think, online from Arab, Tony, Matt, and many others that really put a lot of dedication into this project. And I think the fruits of their knowledge and labor is revealing itself here tremendously tonight. And then thank you to our partners, Rob, Ty, and Kathleen, and their agencies and staff have been tremendous, along with the state agencies. And lastly, to everyone that's been so amazingly engaged in this process. I know we have a beloved station. We want to honor it and its future. And I think Ty said it well, that we are reaching back to the past, to the innovation of this site for the country. And we're trying to take those pieces of history and transform them into our new future that we so desperately need to kind of get a new paradigm for our energy and our mobility center. So your participation, I hope you all continue to participate and check in at this website and keep posted on our new endeavors. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you.